shirt as I serve my brew. I'm cool with the work I do. Clock ticks in the world.
What is up guys, GrogeGaming here. Welcome back to another Clash Royale video. Today we are going to be going over a brand new deck guide. And this deck featured on screen is from Squid Royale. So a little bit about Squid. He has a YouTube channel. I don't think he's uploading at the moment, but I think he wants to get back into it. Maybe with some deck guides. So I'll leave a link below to that. It is Squid Royale Clash Royale. And he's also on Twitter at Squid Royale. He is basically an absolute beast. He has a level 10 HOG in this deck with level 7 epics. Pretty similar to other levels to me. But yeah, he got to top 200 in the world with this deck and currently floating at around 500th in the world, top 100 US. So this is working out really well for him, and I asked him to write me a quick guide on this deck, so I'm going to elaborate on that and just share it with you guys so that you can learn this deck and become pros with it. Now, the format of this video is I'm going to talk through the deck guide itself, the basics, how to defend, how to attack, all the different cards, important notes, counters, hard counters and all that kind of thing, matchups, with some replays in the background, you know, some little clips just to help. And then we are going to jump into one of Squid's replays against an absolute beast. I think he beat number 13 in the world. And then I am going to try and play this deck live for you guys to put all the tips into action so you can see it live for yourselves. So without further ado, let's jump into the deck guide. So, the basics of the deck. Let's begin with Tornado because I think that is a very, very important card in this deck. So, you want to be tornadoing hogs, giants, golems, miners, even goblin barrels to your king tower. Now what this does is it activates your king tower, meaning that it's going to help you defend for the rest of the game, and really you want to get this done early on if possible. However, if you've still got a fair bit of health left on your towers later on, it's still worth doing. So tank decks, giant, golem, always start your knight in the back on the same lane that they are pushing. And then be careful where you place your executioner. Wait for them to drop a support troop behind the giant before placing the executioner so that you know you can tornado it all together and get a big clump of elixir with that executioner axe. As this is probably going to give you a pretty nice positive elixir trade and also set you up for a nice counterattack. Let's talk about the archers. So the archers are in here instead of skeletons or goblins. So you can definitely sub skeletons or goblins in for the archers. If you feel that's what's going to work for you, then give that a go. But Squid said to me, archers are very key in this deck for dealing with graveyard, because obviously graveyard can be very difficult to deal with sometimes. But we all know the strength of archers on defense. They're incredibly strong. They can take out a lot of stuff. They do a huge DPS. One thing I would say about the goblin or skeleton substitution is, obviously, if you've got underlevel goblins, they are going to get zapped, whereas skeletons, it doesn't matter as much because they're 1 elixir. So if you've got level 12 or 13 goblins, they're probably going to be pretty good. Another thing about the archer placement is change it up when you're facing a graveyard poison deck. So if you're always placing them in the same place, the player you're playing against is always going to poison that place preemptively. So change up the archer position to avoid your archers getting taken out and taking a huge amount of damage from the graveyard itself. We all know how good the log is. Still great value for 2 elixir, even with the recent nerfs. I think it's had about 4 in a row or something like that. But yeah, extremely strong defensive or offensive card. Helps against bait decks massively, so taking out Goblin Barrel, or taking out a Goblin Gang, or a Princess, or something like that. You guys know how to use log by now, I am sure. Another point with this deck is to punish your opponents when they pump up, or drop a golem, a giant, a lava hound at the start of the game. So if they go fairly aggressive with their elixir right at the start of the game, then you can definitely punish them with this deck, even just with a simple Ice Spirit Hog push. However, don't commit your Knight and Hog in the first push, as they could have a minion deck, an all-air deck, and the minion horde is just going to absolutely clean up your push, leaving you with a minion horde to deal with down on elixir, so you're going to be at a huge elixir disadvantage. so avoid knight hog pushes to begin with. The main way you want to use your knight in the hog push is after you've defended. So counter-attacking with this deck is incredibly strong. So after you've used a knight and then an executioner to defend behind it, you know, with the tornado grouping all the troops together, you're going to be left with a knight and an executioner walking towards their side of the arena. And at this point you want to throw in a hog behind the knight so that the knight tanks the excess damage for the hog. And you're probably going to get a decent amount of damage done, if not take the tower. An important note with this deck is to never just cycle your Ice Spirit solo. So don't just throw it at the bridge, as it is such an important defensive card in this deck. So for taking out minions, for slowing down giants, slowing down tanks, just anything defensively, it's so important. Slowing down a hog rider. However, a hog Ice Spirit push is acceptable, as we talked about before, to punish, but as long as you've cycled back to the Ice Spirit for defense, that is going to be fine. Another really important thing that Squid said to me was, don't start your executioner at the back. So that is right behind the king towers, in case of a rocket. So if you get rocketed by that, then that takes them 1 elixir, and they're going to get a huge amount of damage on the tower. However, I would say, if you know that they don't have a rocket, for instance, if you've already figured out they just have a fireball, then it's probably going to be acceptable to drop the executioner at the back if needed. So if you know they just have a fireball and they begin a push down your lane, then you can drop the executioner on that lane, preparing to defend with the tornado. So let's talk about hard counters to this deck. These are the ones that Squid said to me, and they seem pretty reasonable. So Expo, believed to be a hard counter, and I'm guessing that is because you've only really got the knight that is going to tank a lot of the Expo damage. I guess you could probably win against Expo with some nice lightnings and that kind of thing, but it's going to be difficult. Giant Bowler Lightning appears to be another counter as well, because obviously the bowler is a big hog counter. Then you've got Splash Yard. We all know how strong Splash Yard is against hog riders, because you've got Tornado, Bowler, E-Wiz, then you've got the goblins in these new Splash Yard decks, so it's a lot to deal with. And then you've got the hog, bowler, tornado decks with the baby dragon and the lightning in there. They are just very strong decks. And then we have P.E.K.K.A. We all know P.E.K.K.A. is a huge hog counter. That being said, with all these counter decks, you can win. It doesn't mean you need to give up. You can definitely win by outcycling their counters if they have a slow cycle compared to you, that kind of thing. And then this deck itself actually counters a few things, which would be bait decks, hog decks, hog cycle decks, apparently Squid said giant fireball decks, mortar decks, and I definitely agree on the bait decks and the hog decks, because you can tornado some of the bait troops together. The goblin barrel, you can log it. Hog decks, you can tornado to your king tower, activate it, and then continually cycle back to your tornado to pull it away from your towers. And then finally we've got 3 musketeers. Now this is a 50-50 matchup. Obviously it kind of depends on luck a little bit, depending on your starting hands, because if you have a lightning available for their pump, that is going to be really good to start the game. Yeah, you always want to be using lightning on the 3 musketeer players' elixir collector to stop them from gaining a huge elixir advantage, because if they get a huge advantage on you, then they're going to split push down both lanes and you're not going to be able to deal with both lane pushes. Right, I believe that is the majority of the deck guide itself done, and now what I want to do is show you this replay that Squid shared with me, which is against number 13 in the world last season. He did pull off the win, so we're going to see how he did that. And you can see he's got a giant minor deck with a level 5 E-Wiz, pretty much maxed out apart from the Night Witch, which is level 4. The guy is obviously an absolute beast, and Squid managed to take him on, which is very, very impressive. So don't get confused, we've got Squid up the top there, and then Matt GG, or Matt G down the bottom. So, Squid going for an early tester hog rider. And he gets 2 swings off against the Night Witch. Then Matt goes very, very aggressive, not knowing what Squid had, obviously. And check this out, guys. Squid places the executioner in front of his tower, tornadoes all together, gets the knight in there to stall the support troops, and then drops down the Ice Spirit to prevent the giant from getting any damage whatsoever. Now Squid has 5 elixir on the board with the Exy, and he drops down a hog rider to assist his push. Hog Rider gets one shot, and then that's going to be it, I'm afraid. So, Miner from Matt there, and Squid does a very, very nice job in pushing the Miner out of the way with a Knight. And then this is something I found very interesting. He is not going to drop anything down for this Mega Minion, and it is going to tie up the game in terms of damage. And then Squid is going to go ahead and throw the log by itself, because that is how key the Executioner is in this deck. So I'm not sure if Squid knew that the guy didn't have a rocket, but I'm guessing he did, because he's a very, very smart player. And then check this out on the left hand side. We are going to tornado the giant to the King Tower and deal with the E-Wiz very, very easily. So Matt has split his damage down both sides, and now so has Squid. And Squid is just trying to get a bit of chip damage with the Hog Rider and doesn't manage to, but goes with a fairly aggressive lightning as Matt defended quite heavily against that Hog Rider. So check the early Knight and the split archers from Squid, and then he's going to use one of the split archers to assist his push, which I think is very smart there. It's going to take a little bit of the E-Wiz damage away from the Hog Rider and allow him to take the tower down to 1500 HP. So, interesting so far. Aggressive giant from Matt, which means Squid is going to try and punish with a Knight Hog Rider combo, and also throws in the lightning. Squid is able to use the tornado, which is so strong. Also with the Knight in there to take care of the Miner and the giant. And then simple as that, we need the lightning to finish off the game. So that was very impressive from Squid there, dealing with number 13 in the world. It seemed like that was pretty easy for him, to be honest. Okay, now it is my turn to try out this deck to see if we can perform everything in the deck guide and get a perfect performance. Okay, so we're against Donaldo from Star Alliance. Good luck there, sir. So, I'm thinking we're going to go for a fairly aggressive hog push with the Ice Spirit, as he's committed 3 elixir to the right hand lane. Just going to see what's happening here. Oh, and he's going to go for the tornado, which is pretty annoying. Should have seen that coming. This is probably going to require a log just to make sure. So I'm going to go for an Executioner at the back here, which I know is probably one of the golden rules, and I'm going to get punished there with the rocket. Oh dear. So we learn from our mistakes, guys. He has the rocket. I've learned that I can no longer place the Executioner at the back. Otherwise he's going to punish me with the rocket. So that's something to learn when you're using this deck. And when you're playing Clash Royale in general, to be honest. Okay, so we're going to just get the log in there to take out the goblins and the rest of the mortar. And he stops us from getting any hog damage on the right hand side. And there, the Ice Spirit was pretty much essential to stop the Knight from getting damage. Because with these mortar decks, they rely on chipping you down, continuously chipping you down with logs, with mortar shots, and then with rockets to finish you off at the end of the game. So every bit of damage does really count. I am going to go for a hog in front of the left archer to see what we can get to happen. Excuse the message at the top, I'm just going to blur that out. So, Executioner in front of the tower this time to avoid any rockets. And then the Knight And then with this mortar, I'm going to go for a bit of a weird hog rider, which doesn't actually get hit by the mortar, which is good. And I believe this is going to go pretty badly for myself. The mortar isn't going to get too much damage done to my tower. Probably just the one shot there. And he's going to go for a very, very aggressive rocket. So I'm going to try and punish him here. So as I said, use the knight to defend and then put the hog rider in front of it. Ooh, so we're going to get 2 shots and a bit of log chip damage there, so not too bad at all. I'm going to throw the ice spirit down this lane to deal with the archers, well, to kind of distract the archers and the mortar. And then this left hand side I've got the knight, executioner and an archer. And here he already used his tornado on offense for some reason, so I'm going to get the extra hog shot. That is awesome. And the lightning is going to finish the game. So he made a big mistake in using his tornado on offense. I think that was really bad. He should have just probably played for the draw with the tornado there. Okay, final game of the video here, as I just want to show one more live game so you get a bit more of an idea of the deck itself from me playing it live. This is simple, going to throw in the log. So it looks like we're going to be playing against a bait deck, which we actually hard counter, so hopefully we can pull off the win. Otherwise it's going to be a bit embarrassing. So yeah, knight at the back, same lane as the princess. I'm just going to... Ooh, okay, minion horde. So luckily the executioner locks onto the minion horde first. The miner is going to get very minimal damage here. And then the executioner should hit the princess before it crosses, yep. And okay, fair enough. Inferno Tower is going to do a nice bit of work for him there. Wow, a bit of an old school deck here with the skeleton army rather than the goblin gang. However, does not cause us any trouble. He's going to throw a log in. Meh, not really worth it, I don't think. Maybe he's just cycling. I'm going to split the archers as that left tower is getting a bit of chip damage from me. I don't know if he's noticed it. I'm actually going to log away the princess, because I am pretty comfortable with dealing with the goblin barrel itself. I've got the tornado if needed to pull it to the king tower. Hopefully we can execute that. That would be pretty cool to show that live. So execution is going to stall for a second and I'm going to throw the hog in front. And we are going to get a lightning down, which is going to allow us to get onto the tower. 1 shot. 2 shots there. Very valuable lightning if you ask me. That's the thing I like about the executioner against the bait decks, is he's just going to clean everything up so nicely. That's going to save you elixir and save you from defending against what they've defended with, basically. So he hasn't outcycled my log at all. Not very well played. So he's going for a very short Inferno Tower, which is going to give me some nice lightning value. And I'm prepared with the tornado for the skeleton army. Oh, no executioner shot there. That would have been nice to kind of get me closer to winning this game. One thing I haven't done is tornadoed his miner to the king tower, but I just don't think it's been necessary because I'm able to deal with everything he's got with ease, let's be honest. So I went for it at the end here. Wasn't really worth it, just thought I'd try it. But yeah, very, very comfortable game against bait. Squid was right, this absolutely hard counters bait decks. And so guys, that is going to do it for this deck guide today. Huge shout out to Squid Royale for providing me with this deck. Absolute beast. He is actually going to start offering Clash Royale lessons, I do believe. So if you're interested in that, follow him on Twitter at Squid Royale and drop him a message and just see where it goes from there. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with that just yet. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this and I hope you learned from this as well and can possibly go on to using this deck on the ladder. Let me know how you get on down below, that would be awesome. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.